at the poor man voice we they bring out.
Now we alright for know the truth. Now that make we go protect the truth.
Truth began, no they neglect anyone.
We are the voice, we are the
Ida
flame.
Jemka
Truth will
Truth
rise the
Radio
dawn.
Radio Gonga kan katemedere etati tokbere jenai FM ko Gonga kan lutata.
From the hearts of Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown, you are listening to Truth Radio on 103.9 FM. We empower the nation. Don't touch that dial.
I hope that our visitors would listen to the song carefully, because it's true. They're trying their best to stop our progress with bad propaganda. I mean the foreign press. Bad things are blown out of proportion and spread all around. But the good things of the island they will never mention. Like our scholars have sit and passed every test. There's nothing about that in the foreign press. You know our music is rated amongst the best. There's nothing about that in the foreign press. But if a man steal a mango or breeze blow up a woman dress, bet your life we making headline in the foreign press. True, true. Lamba bombe ba, lamba roba, lamba de la de da. We had a little riot in this town. The headline it got, you'll swear the whole island was burning down. But I had to laugh when a visitor turned and say, what the fuss about? This happens in New York every day. You know our sportsmen are rated amongst the best. There's nothing about that in the foreign press. All the lovely buildings which shows our progress.
Anyway,
There's nothing about that.
What you say no more, Olivia,
Truth Media.
to
Media.
India,
Truth. Yes, you. Truth Media.
media,
Join and Truth Media.
media,
Truth Media.
media.
Say unala we dey watch Truth Media.
May watch
Unala
you
we dey listen to Truth Media.
now listen June
Una listen to.
now listen
Unala we dey
to
listen to Truth Media.
now listen to so media.
No, Truth. You don't have the Truth there.
Okay, two
Unala we dey listen to Truth Media.
now listen to so media.
Truth Media.
Su dia. Very no bad. Nasa anybody Saluman. Yeah, they live or they poo them for do any business for do some. Yeah, they live in office. They no bad. Any business for do some. Are they backside for us for make any students them. Anyway, for make or the confusion or the education, anybody for learner, anybody for prepare, any song if for the anybody.
Me, na Yusuf Ujalo, the Cowfoot Prince. And you, they listen to Truth Radio on 103.9 FM live inside Freetown. Na to the last. Me, na Yusuf Ujalo, the Cowfoot Prince. And you, they listen to Truth Radio on 103.9 FM live inside Freetown. Na to the last.
Well, me fancy him anyway for do what you say no more. Hallelujah.
Truth media.
Two
Media.
India.
Truth. Yes, you. Truth media. Join and Truth media.
Truth media.
Aha. Say unala we dey watch Truth media.
Me watch
Unala we dey listen to Truth media.
now listen June.
Una listen to
Now listen
Unala we dey
to
listen to Truth media.
now listen to so media.
No, Truth. You don't have the Truth there.
Okay, truth.
Unala we dey listen to Truth media.
Now listen to so media.
Truth media.
Su media. Very no bad. Now, sir, anybody Salomon. Yeah, they live or they poo them for do any business for do some. Yeah, they live in the office. They no bad. Any business for do some. Are they pass course for make any students them. Anyway, for make or the confusion or the education, anybody for learner, anybody for prepare, any song if for they, anybody.
I hope that our visitors would listen to the song carefully, because it's true. They trying their best.
Good morning, Freetown. Good morning, Salion, and a hearty welcome to all our listeners in the diaspora. This is Truth Radio on 103.9 FM. My name is Christian Conte, and the program is Stop Press. Stop Press brings you a deep dive analysis of major issues making the headlines across radio, television, and newspapers. Today, we turn the spotlight on the media itself, our own very constituency. From the weekly government press briefing to headlines that shape our national conversation. How is the press setting the agenda? How are we ensuring that we bring the important issues to the fore as far as public discourse is concerned? And are journalists being really empowered to ask the questions that matter most? I've been joined in the studios by someone who is no stranger to the media and has been on Stop Press on a few occasions. He's Melvin Tijan Mansare. Of course, he's a seasoned journalist. He's a political analyst, also a media strategist, and he's been around in the media for a while. Melvin, good morning. Welcome to Stop Press.
Thank you very much for having me, Fambulo Makusha and Cabo.
Yeah, so they can use this moment for look inwards. We look outwards at what with other people they do, and we can't look inwards now. It's with the media for they do for do your own work, hold government to account, help as partners in development to government, make sure we look at the ills of society and bring and come out without fear and favor. And that's something that we don't do for quite a while. So from decoding the dynamics of government, communication, right on for explore how reporters they bring the stories to the newsroom, how editors they ensure say these stories come out. And we may share a lot of insights on how things don't evolve, particularly right now. So stay with us for the next 90 minutes. Here on Stop Press. My name is Christian Conte, and of course, as usual, now the true the last, and this is Stop Press.
I hope that our visitors would listen to this song carefully, because it's true. They're trying their best to stop our progress with bad propaganda. I mean the foreign press. Bad things are blown out proportion and spread all around. But the good things of the island they will never mention. Like our scholars have sit and passed every test. There's nothing about that in the foreign press. You know our music is rated amongst the best. There's nothing about that.
Welcome, this is Stop Press on 103.9 FM. My name is Christian Conte and I have with me in the studios Melvin Tijan Mansari. And therefore, help we dissect this topic and, look inwards. It's always normal for the look at what other people then do or they not do and call them out. Maybe it's a time we do some introspection and talk about ourselves as a media and what we will do, for ensure we set the agenda for national conversations. Now, let's begin with the big picture, Melvin. In a democracy, the media often they call it the fourth estate. But what do they really mean to we being the fourth estate? What's that your role as media?
Well, by the way, Famble, pardon me, because this conversation has to do with two aspects of journalism: the journalism theory and the journalism practice. So, come back to why the media is called the fourth estate, simply goes to historic fact that a state, or we call a country, is divided into strata or spheres. You get, for example, the first estate, we get to do with the presidency. You get the second estate, arguably between the judiciary or the parliament. And of course, the third estate, we will be one of them also. Then you get the fourth estate. The fourth estate, now the arm of government, where they between these three arms, and another estate outside of the fourth estate, when at the fifth estate. So, in summary, when we say the fourth estate, now the middle ground between the public or the plebeians and that of the authorities or the elected. So, in local context, if you read section 11 of the Constitution of Sierra Leone, it clearly creates and establishes what is the media and what is the role of the media. So for cut and short, the fourth estate means the mouthpiece between the elected and the electorate. So with the middle. And you get the fifth estate, as I don't say, when are the people, when are the most powerful estate where sovereignty belongs to.
Interesting, most people don't even know say there's a fifth estate, and they don't know say the fifth estate that's powerful, which is the people. We always talk about the fourth estate because not day we day. So now, you get different, you don't outline the estates. Every estate wants to set the agenda. Mm-hmm. Governments want to set the agenda because they want people to understand saying that this way they do, and they want more look at it from their own perspective. We have the fourth estate, one of the media, where we also want to set the agenda because in our own opinion, now we're at the middle ground for able to say that this government they do, that is the people they want, and people have to decide. We are the middle ground. But how, to what extent do we do that as journalists, as media, so far as Salon? Based on which you don't see. They play that role, they set the agenda, or would all left all in our government where they set the agenda for the people?
It is challenging, and I'll give a case study with juxtaposition as to whether the media in Sierra Leone is setting the agenda. Largely, it's a yes and no. Yes, because you have few media outlets where get thematic focus. For example, Truth Media gets special media program, and I get on a morning devotion, and I get special programs. And, well, it is the expectation from my experience working with an institution in Ghana called Parliamentary News. If you want to set the agenda, this is the killer position point I'm putting out. If the media is to set the agenda, we for reverse from what I will call fire brigade reporting, where something is said, she said. Rather, in terms of agenda setting, we can do some small theoretical reading about. In terms of agenda setting, for example, at Parliamentary News Africa, we have what is called a queue of themes and stories. This is not based on what's happening today or what's not happening today. These are thematic areas. We get for do with, firstly, calendar of public, national or international events. We get for do with thematic areas, get meaning health, education, energy. And the watchword there is, in terms of setting the agenda, if you not get a programmatic approach as a media backed by specialization, you are going to be left by reporting what I would call either the normal news.
So it does not matter what happens, no matter what happens in the country, if you, as the media, decide to set the agenda, we get a planned activity saying that this one target.
Exactly, and that you've done already, I think this week, your focus on the Kush pandemic.
Yeah.
It's called agenda setting because the prominence way truth gear and the placement also way gear, and above all in our agenda setting, the repetitive nature of different angles being looked into the issue is what makes a media setting the agenda. Rather than where government say, oh, get one crusade on Kush outreach, media then go reporter, where then can not sit on their wait. So to answer your question, like you rightly deduce, is the fact that the media forgets a program. Some institutions they do one for a week, others they do one for a month. Bigger institutions then get quarterly, some are annual. Like what's happening, maybe then can come with them breaking or urgent news, but these are focused areas. Yeah. And until and unless that is done, we will always do the traditional reporting of events. And setting the agenda begins with who invites you. Who that invites you by a program? Now you don't set the agenda.
Based on the report.
report. In fact, that's why you see in some press conference when you meet PR strategists. If my press conference I'm going to talk about Christian Baba, when you ask me question when they say the Baba, I tell the person I say no, that is not why we're here. And you see the outcomes do a lot of that. Yeah. Why? Because the agenda is set by who organizes the program, who invites who to discuss what. Because at the end of the day, you are left with what is being.
I get one of me before my boss, he always talk and say, press conference is a lot of news. Because it's an agenda. People don't set saying that this one come out. Yeah. So when you go to a press conference, you look for things that are not necessarily being said or said quietly in passing. I don't get other interaction there with a couple of government ministers, and we go press conference, they talk about this, and I report, and they're like, he always to talk about the press conference. Now this small report, that's what I choose to report.
And that's their personal agenda setting notion of the journalist himself. So again, that's where the objectivity versus subjectivity comes to why you know that you choose topic. But there is another nuanced aspect to when it comes to press conferences. Of course, I agree with you, it's an ambushing of the media by authorities or whosoever they are. But again, from my experience, being a journalist for over a decade now, is the fact that you can use a press conference to expose wider issues. But there is a danger. The danger there is you must not be off the context or the subject matter. Here comes the essence of research in journalism.
So my question would be, is it wrong for the media, or anybody, apart from the media, even government, to set an agenda? Because most times we talk about agenda setting, people think, this is wrong. And the media want to set an agenda. It sounds negative. Is it wrong to set an agenda?
It's not wrong. What is wrong is what's the interest of the agenda. And in tandem or context with journalism, it should be the public interest. But today, because of that, we have what is called corporate interest. We have political interest. We have foreign influence. All of these are influences on the media. So back to the subject, it's just not wrong. But the honesty and sincerity of what the agenda is about. The agenda of Truth Media on the campaign against Kush, not to follow the donor fund. Now for the people, the young man who die in the streets. So you want to see an end to that. So it cannot be what is called, there's this phrase, evil geniosity. It's not an evil geniosity cause. But what if the agenda now of Truth Media becomes, okay, for example, we are promoting one politician. And Truth Media, they set this agenda, but not telling in the audience that becomes deception and propaganda. It's different from journalism.
So the interesting thing is that you talk about public interest. These are one of the phrase or clause where we don't get a very difficult time, even as journalists, even the courts. There's no clear-cut definition of what public interest is. So if media sets an agenda for the public interest, who determines what the public interest is, when even the courts have not given a clear definition saying that public interest this?
I think sociologists have come out with what public interest is all about. And there is a phrase attached to that. It's called general good. Public interest simply should represent the general good, the greater good. Anything outside of that could be either corporate interest, personal interest, political interest.
Greater good can be negative.
But that's the essence of democracy. And the media is a lifeblood for democracy. So if the bottom line of democracy is majority rules and public interest or public opinion, again, public interest can be gauged through public opinion, which we don't do a lot here. I think your former newspaper, Awoko, used to do that. And I've encouraged my own media house for us to be doing public opinions, because again, the way you can gauge public opinion or public interest is from public opinion. That's why you have pollsters. But in Sierra Leone, we don't do that. But so when you have some judges and courts saying that, oh, who can determine what's that? It's simple. International law is very clear as to what is public interest. It has got to do with geography, population, and reasoning. Reasoning. A case study is what genocide is or not. So genocide can mean killing Boku people, but it can also mean the intention of killing many people or exterminating. So it's about understanding the context of where all of these are emanating from. So I think, again, to answer your question, that is just my assessment.
So currently, how influential the media be in terms of, let's gauge the media in a salon. How influential will be in terms of, shaping public opinion, in terms of setting agendas, when, we always say, the media don't get money, and, they are corporate interests. Every media institution is a partner of the corporate institution, and there are certain institutions, which I will not name, there are certain institutions in a salon where, say, if no matter what they do, their names don't go on newspapers, because 90% plus of the newspapers, they get adverts from them. How do we balance that between having finances to run the institutions and manage the media with these corporate interests?
Again, I follow some Western media outlets, though some of them are podcasts, whose aim is to divorce themselves from corporate interests, the big tech, big corporations and all that. And what they do to shield themselves from external or these I'll call them adjunct interests, is to let their audience pay for their content. So what they will do, they have what is called subscription. They have what is called donations. All of these they do because they want to keep themselves safe from corporate interests, which is heavily influencing the Sierra Leone media. But back to your question, how influential is the media? There are empirical evidence from either MRCG, they come out with the annual State of the Media, or SLAG, or IMC. We have a lot of intel as to the state of media and the influence. Of course, one of which is proliferation of newspapers and media outlets. Yeah. That means the media is effective. And there are still credible statistical reports from, I think, those BBC Media Action stating that radio is still widespread. That is an influence of the media. You have so many people who religiously believe that whatever is said or written on the traditional media is true. So that is trust in the media. But are there no elements of mistrust? There are still elements of mistrust in journalists, particularly how the profession has guarded itself from political influence, be it from within or outside. From within, you have members who are journalists but have changed course. Some of them are lawyers, some of them are politicians. So how we manage those interests? And of course, you have the wider concerns there as to the other aspects of it. But basically, I think the media is influential. Yes, it is challenged, based also with some bad laws, one of which is the Cyber and Security Act. Though we can say the government repealed the Part 5 of the libel, but that introduction seemed to be a replacement of it. And economically, the media is starved, it's poor. If you look at the reports, released by European Union Election ECOM, European Union Election Monitoring Observers Mission, there's a whole section about the media, and it is clearly stated that the media is seriously divided between green and red, and the room for centrist journalism is shrinking, meaning there is a threat that independent and critical journalism at this age and time is also under threat.
There are several people who disagree. People in the way say, no, we're not going to say the media are poor, because there are people in the media who don't get a fortune, they live out of the media. And, well, mostly they are media owners. So there's this argument that we keep saying the media not gets enough resources, but people think the media is not poor.
That is inequality in the media, and it goes to ownership. And we were talking about agenda setting. The owner sets the editorial policy and the slants, the prime, the frame, the gatekeeping. So it goes to the ownership. I agree with you. Media owners are more affluent by than media practitioners. And you ask yourself, why is this unreconcilable fact? Of course, they invested their money. They are not journalists. They are not journalists. They are capitalists and entrepreneurs.
All of them. There are people who are journalists.
Well, so globally,
I have a lot of examples.
Rupert Murdoch is not a journalist, but he owns the biggest media corporation.
But I'm speaking more locally. For example, Aoko is owned by Kevin Lewis. He's a seasoned journalist. He's been president of SLAJ. Here, let's come back.
Okay, back to Sierra Leone.
Bar is a partner here. He's a journalist, a seasoned one, and we have a lot of people. And the late when we talk about Star,
Philip Neville,
Philip Neville, a journalist. Yeah, I know other people who are not journalists, but we have people in the media.
So, in some, we would say the media owners have not been fair to the journalists, honestly. And ownership is a global issue. But again, the owners will tell you that when you look at overhead cost of running a media, be it a newspaper, a television, or a radio station, or even an online or a website, it's expensive.
And that speaks to editorial decisions, as you said.
Of course.
So
gatekeeping.
What happens in that space? Because of who owns the media, it determines what gets covered and who gets covered. How do we navigate that as a media and ensure that, in as much as there are various competing interests, but we still get this relevant and able to set agenda for the benefit of the people and not just we.
Self-censorship. If me no say me na a centrist or me na a liberal, I need to expect for go work now, for example, we own.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to be censored. Not for write anything good if SLBP do.
I know.
So use the second for make you. It's a matter of self-choice. Yeah. You must understand back to what we said the last time, the editorial slants of every media house. And even for analysts, that's what I'm telling them always. Not for just can analyze newspaper or an article. Know the bias of that outlet. Know first who are the owner. Because when you know who are the owner, you go for know if in a salon, an SLBP or an APC. Although you get some relative owners, for example, Andrew Kiley, he was SLBP, later NGC, and now I don't know side. We get Salon Times. Yeah. But according to my studies over time, he gave them a free hand. Yeah. But is that the case for Awareness Times?
It's not possible.
You cannot write anything on Awareness Time with doctors if you're learning to watch. Only the censor. So if me know that if I go around away, if I write me story, then I go for killer. Do I want to go and work there?
I don't pour it like that. So the last time they ask a question, simple question, and it was a whole thing. Dr.
Blyden, let me just be honest. There are a few people who are admire within the rights. One of them is Dr. Blyden, another is Dr. Samabania. And interestingly also, Karl Mokaba is one of the finest.
Writers, you mean?
Yes! Oh. Many people are surprised. He has a compilation of published writings. Okay. Karl Mokaba. I can ask myself, I say, for say APC then get only man, I don't know the words. But that is just political. That's on that side.
It's like say you talk for Karl Mokaba now.
No, we're doing a media review. Okay. That person can't challenge me. Who that gets any publication at APC reach Karl Mokaba? And I want to put this challenge. There is no known writer in the APC like Kamokaba.
Anyways,
This is just a free bonus.
I know it.
Let them come forward. I mean,
They challenge you on that.
yes, I mean, publish and establish writers. The people are watching online.
Okay.
All right, they can't challenge me. I stand for the corrected.
That's an interesting.
I am not
I'm sure they are listening. Una
Yeah.
challenge on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are.
Una establish
I'm sure they are right.
political writer in the APC, Pascal Mokaba.
Anyway, so more go to one very important agenda setting event. That's how I call it.
Yeah.
And that is what the government does. We get the weekly government press briefing, and government organizes the press briefing, and it's to set agenda. For example, they say that this way do, that this way do. It's very positive because it's a place where all government ministers can go and then say that this we do as a ministry and that this we do as a ministry. In your assessment, has the media been able to utilize that space, or we don't left out to government for just set agenda and just flow with the story how they want?
Oh, that's a tough question. In saying no, it will mean that, well, the media is not tough and rough enough with its inquisition. And that is not the case. I would say there are a few journalists who sometimes ask questions that you'll appreciate. But again, I'll tell you no, because if you listen to some of the question lines, or even the reasoning behind some of the questions, you will clearly know that there is need for more, what I would call, thoughtfulness, rigorousness, and above all, appetite to understand context.
Yeah.
If you are asking somebody, we don't call in a program, we get your agenda, baby question, and they look you like somebody we don't know what you do. But when you ask certain questions, by the way you frame questions, the way you prime certain questions, the way how you phrase questions, all get implications on the kind of answers, you get.
Yeah.
Of course, sometimes I can hear the ministers by the kind of question with some journalists they ask. You see, he's like just discarding them with the back of his hands, telling them that this is not the kind of questions we are expecting. That is understandable, but that can be totalitarian also, because the journalists ask a question.
More often than not, I always say I am against that response, because no matter how you look at a question, there are questions the way might not make sense to you. We all might not ask the same question line, but there are people back home where they listen for that kind of question. We might seem not intellectual, might seem not smart or not critical, but people are also they listen. So that question we want for Yeri. These are people who are not equally as educated as other journalists, not get the necessary exposure, not understand the issues better. But so if a journalist asks that question, it's your responsibility as a public officer for answer in such a way that people that will benefit. Alpha can do that always as minister, although they do it to your advantage, because people ask questions that are just out of the way. What do they answer? What you answer? And most times people don't even get the necessary response. But I think people should be allowed to ask questions, no matter how you think the question is good or bad.
Yeah, I agree with you partly, but a journalist not for asking mediocre question. That's my honest opinion.
But it depends what you call mediocre question.
Mediocre question, somebody will explain something to you, you can ask them back what he see.
Yeah, no, that I understand.
That is...
But I really don't answer any question is a mediocre question.
No, some questions...
Some questions me not go ask, but some questions other person go ask.
Yeah, but...
Because somebody at home,
no, I mean,
listening, well educated,
why use mediocre question? I mean, the journalists will pay attention. One experience we don't get, when you interview certain people who are more scripted, who understand the subject matter, when you ask them what, then use that what for explain when, why, how, and all that. If you are not an attentive journalist, some people go begin to say, "But I don't tell you to ask me back." And how do you feel as a professional?
Yeah, exactly.
So when I say mediocre, that means that the question is not relevant.
And
but it's about
what I say. Like I said before.
Yeah.
Since you are not paying attention.
You are not paying attention. So the journalist also must prepare for an interview or whatever an agenda setting event is. Because you should go in with the expectation that this now waiting a while I go right or go talk Naim. But waiting me no say they exist in light with the subject. So what I used to do by the time I was acting editor of the Trumpet, I go with a mindset of a two-pronged mindset. I go for your news and I go for my news. My news is what the oddities, what's the realities, What's the controversy?
Those passing statements.
Those things you will not want.
Yeah.
But on the first occasion, since he invites me, I don't write you news, clean one. He said, she said, and at the end of the day, blah, blah, blah. That's for you. When I come to write, thankfully, I must thank the publisher of this compared, Mr. Sidney Pratt. He trained me for get free hand. Give me the papers, you runner. So I can't realize that many times when you write their own story, they are pleased.
Yeah,
they are very pleased. Oh, I enjoy that story. That's if the person is grateful. But many others go look at that a normal story. But when you write an independent critical opinion on, for example, that press conference, you look at things the way maybe they don't pick up, or you challenge them on the laws or policies, they get agitated. They feel like, oh, also this will carry out, and what will be the one punishment? They're not going to invite you again.
Definitely, we don't get instances like that.
So
once they call you, say, what I do? I want to write this story.
Yeah,
it's just about the issues. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question about follow-up questions at press briefings. But before I ask that question, we'll just prepare a clip where, by the time you don't answer that question, we'll get a clip where we had Mohamed Jawad Nyali here. He was here. He's in the Ministry of Information now. He's the outreach coordinator, strategic communications unit in the ministry, and he talk about the press. But before we take that clip, let's just take. I just want me technicians to get that clip ready, and we will listen. And because I put some of these questions to him, now we got a press conference hosted by the Ministry of Information. So it's hardly you get a follow-up question, because sometimes I ask a question and I've asked this, and somebody just answers something different. And I have to stand there and listen to, if you answer me question, I don't have the privilege of interjecting. Say, no, to this I ask you. Let's get to the question. Answer the question, because that's why I'm here. Sometimes, as editor, when they left the newsroom, we go for just get one story, because we want to get some clarifications. Not all say I will get access to speak to a certain minister. So if he's going to the press briefing or she's going to the press briefing, if I will answer some free questions. What do you think in press conferences where you don't have the opportunity to ask follow-up questions?
It's manipulative, like George Orwell once said. It's part of what is called thought policing. It's a deliberate diversionary tactics from the totalitarians who don't want to be exposed in the world of Orwell again, Oceana. So when they do that, some of them do it deliberately. Some of them do it, inadvertently, basically, out of forgetfulness, and that's why when you ask, if you are on the panel, people are asking questions, you must take notes. Yeah. But of course, even in the White House press conference, journalists do ask follow-up questions. Definitely. Because if the journalist ask a question, you don't answer her, it's just better as the journalist not ask question, because I ask questions, by then same way I did in a newspaper, not now I did in a television. I ask questions because I want my own angle from the story. Yeah. So for example, yesterday it was the topic Mission 300, and so many things were said. Dr. Yumkela's lecture was awesome, prolific, and all that. But for me, if my question there is not going to be on that event, but rather antecedents or precedents that have occurred over time in that sector.
Yeah, like who does not know about Mission 300 now?
Exactly, but
news, what is that? Let me carry on a front page Mission 300.
So an agenda question will be, how long will this project last for?
How will the resources be monitored? And
how many people are funding? Is there any co-funding from the government? Yeah. How will it be monitored? What are the safeguards against corruption?
What do we give to get that?
Of course, like who will lobby that? Because all of these questions, in answering them, you'll have different dimension. Because essence of, the disadvantage of press conference is a uniform news. Yeah. What makes it not uniform is the kind of questions you ask. So if you ask question in the pool questions, it's just part of you enhancing the agenda of the agenda setter. But when you use question, is a powerful tool in journalism. Many journalists don't know that. Many journalists, because of the right and question, they think it's just okay. Questioning, they make you uncover the covered. Yeah. If you are a good questioner, that's why for me, I used to admire people like Stephen Sacco. Today, I'm admiring.
He's my best BBC presenter, by the way.
But his show was killed by the BBC for flimsy. For flimsy.
Now you want to take me to the BBC?
Of course.
Definitely. Christian Melvin, the program is Stop Press right here on Truth Radio 103.9 FM, and I have Melvin Tijan Mansari, and today we'll take some introspective look at we self as media practitioners. How do we set the agenda positively? Help people then get the story the way therefore actually gets. How do we ask questions? How do we uncover the very uncomfortable truths way people they cover way they don't want more we know? And we definitely can't take a clip of Mohammed Jawad Nyale. I just want to get an insight. We had an interview with him, an exclusive interview, and I asked questions about the press briefing and the agenda setting and how it happens. He disagreed with me on a couple of things. We'll just listen to it. I think we'll get issues with the video clip. So we'll take the audio, we'll just listen to it, he say, and I'll come back to Melvin for get some response. They follow the weekly press briefing, happens quite regularly. It's good, local authorities on board. But normally when I watch press conferences in other countries, follow it's called a press conference because the press there are small questions and the statements made. But from my observation, and not the first time this happened, it happened previous administrations and even previous minister. It's about the authorities come, ask, make lots of statements. One person will talk like 20 minutes. Then when it comes to questioning, journalists do not have the leeway to ask as many questions. I don't do in occasions where someone asks a question and say, no, not this we discussed today. But it's a press conference, and if the Minister of Information is there, on a normal day, might call the Minister of Information, pick up, ask and question, answer. But several journalists and colleagues, they will not get access to the Minister. The Minister don't get time for pick all my call, and it's impossible. But if you go to a press conference, as long as a question borders on government and government relations, I think they have a responsibility to answer it. But it does not happen always. Why?
Okay. No, I mean, I totally disagree with you saying no, they happen always. What you disagree on? I disagree. Okay. Let me explain how we press conference they run. Okay. For those people who don't want to attend it, you could also take me up on my word and attend next week. What we do is you get 3-4 government officials, and it is moderated by the minister as a host. Let's also not forget this is a government press briefing, moderated by the Minister of Information, or in other cases where the deputy minister can also moderate them. And after everybody done doing opening, and by the way, we have a timer just for make sure we kind of do this in time. It's a 90 minutes event, and then after everybody done making opening statements, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, that's like 20 minutes, and then now it's open to the press. And there are times we can even get 3 rounds of questions, and in each round, we take at least 5 questions. And take into consideration, approximately we get between 50 to 60 journalists then where they go with press briefing. Sometimes if we take 2-3 rounds of questions, that's 15 to 20 questions. Everybody will want to ask a question at the end of the day. I know every week we get that situation, we'll say more people want to ask a question. But at the end of the day, you only have 1 hour and 30 minutes for do that particular show day, because you have journalists the way they print, where by the time that press conference they don't need for go file in story. You get somebody who work for broadcast. You also need for run them on time by the time when you done you go for the one. And so even questions and every time where the minister they do the press conference, for example, they talk and say, no matter the question where you get, elect a not necessarily related to what we talk now, as the Minister of Information, they go answer them. And not to 1 time, not to 2 time, not to 3 time. He has always done
our
that.
reporters will be there and ask questions.
No problem.
We'll take notes of that.
And exactly.
But me a clear example. I've been to that press conference a few times.
Yes, but you not necessarily go use your case for generalizing.
I don't even make the statement. Allow me.
It's a practice.
So what happened? They cover the press conference regularly.
Okay.
And under the former minister, Mohammed Mansari, and there are times when he even asked me, what should we discuss next week? Who are the people you want? We give suggestions like that. Because for me, it's unrealistic for me, the country, they talk about education now. They call Minister of Health. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's the most topical thing. Never count. I have been there. I'm going to give you an example. You know, I'm
Yeah, how long?
So my example was...
The question as well for you.
Quite a while. I went there. I went there. And I put my hand for ask questions. I was very visible at the back. And the minister repeatedly... I'll make her ask questions. And I felt like, am I visible? At some point in time, I'm going to crash my colleague if they need to see me. And my hands were up constantly. And the minister was just... And other people ask questions. I remember one woman did before me, one lady, I think a journalist, they said, okay, no, more check this lady. The lady does not want to ask questions. My hands are up. So why? Yeah, these are some of the things. It might not be anything personal, of course, I know. But if somebody else has a scenario like that, they might think, okay, why did they... Is it some level of censorship?
No,
that
no.
these thoughts might come in?
No.
And like I said, I put it on to you.
Unfortunately, the good thing is press conference don't go through enormous transformation. Now it's much more high level. Now it's much more engaging. Now it's much more open and much more transparent. And citizens as well can actively ask questions, not just journalists, and by the way.
Well, that's now me colleague, who is now at the Ministry of Information and Civic Education, Mohammed Jawad Miale. We'll get a discussion about what the press briefing looks like, how the agenda has been set, how questions are being asked, and I just use a personal experience and just throw it in, forget a conversation around that, and he said the press briefing don't seem to grow now. Things have changed, as maybe they say, well, that was Jawad Miale. Maybe you listen quite clearly, and I always give my experience because probably I don't cover quite a lot of, government ministers, not very long enough, I don't cover Ibikabu, of course, but starts to cover, I think it's Alhaji Alpha Kanu, and Mohamed Bangura, then Mohamed Gaman Swari, and I always say Mohamed Gaman Swari was one of my best press conferences where I will cover because, like I mentioned there with Jawad, this time the minister will say, what you know next week? And we say, we want the Minister of Health. And he writes to the Ministry of Health. Journalists want to ask this question once the press briefing. So in as much as the government sets agenda, but it will give it a leverage or at least, as if we are part of the agenda. It's not very same right now. What you have also covered the press briefing. You don't follow the press briefing. What do you make of it?
It's a nice initiative. To bring the people together, but it's not new. I think, yes, Jawad is right. There are some new elements, particularly the Creole element, the kind of panel element, the moderator element, and of course the resources, the time element, but the resource elements also, and all that. And of course, if you look at the minister personally, he wants to forcefully set the agenda. Of course, he's open to debate. But he's somebody that I've observed to be intolerant to certain extreme form of journalism, which is that critical thinking journalism. I have a message still in my phone in which we are still having a back and forth on MCC money versus
maybe it's because of his background. He's been in the development sector for a while. Civil society, and because of that.
I'll tell you. And that's the reason why you need somebody with a journalistic background in such positions, because you need to have you need to have a feel as to why journalists go to these press conferences and what they want to derive from.
I understand, but I beg to disagree. So basically, what we're doing here, we don't want to put the minister under the microscope as if we are assessing him. We're assessing the press briefing and how government sets agenda. But the former minister who was there, Mohamed Gaman Swari, not to necessarily a journalist, although he don't do PR work in the airport and all that, but not a journalist. But I think the media, he had a very cordial relationship. Now that he tenure the repeal criminal libel law, and this was a minister maybe they consult with Sludge and things there, and he got a very cordial relationship. Me and I'm supposed to be the caller as a journalist. He will pick up and say, okay, yeah, he is one person who accepts certain realities. I remember one time we go press briefing and we were late. He charged journalists and we're not for the late to press briefing, and he came late at some point in time, and we said, Mr. Minister, you're late, and he was like, okay, I apologize. This was the kind of a person. So I don't really think you need a media background for
No, you do. If you can only go forward and see how IB Kagbo handled that ministry. Of course, when journalists metamorphose into politician or corporate communicator, it's always different. Many of them, we don't see, now they can't be journalists that they make enemy, or that they give red tape, or that they shut the door or give stonewall. So it's that. But when you have a media background, for you to dismiss a journalist, it's not easy, because you will always understand where they want to come from or they are coming from. Again, I think under this minister, you saying it's not about the minister, but you are doing a comparative analysis on the two persons holding that position over a different period of time. Of course, you will say Gaman Swari is more extrovert, whereas the current minister, to some extent, is a liberal but conservative, in my estimation. Liberal means he's tolerant to certain critical opinions. But conservative is, in a sense, when you cross his ideological lines, especially political or situational, as the case may be, he seems to be not tolerant to that. But it is human. And if you look at his gains, I think no matter what you say, Chernobyl has injected life in that ministry. That ministry is more relevant today than any other time. I would tell you, look at the way they stage the civic, they've been staging the civic engagement, they've been staging the town hall. But to what, I know your question, to what end and with what cost. But the fact remains, under Chernobyl, that ministry is more people-centered and people-centric. That is not to say their agenda is same. Their agenda, is, of course, is governmental, it's political. Yeah. But in terms of bringing the agenda closer to the people, I think, under Chernobyl.
So the question would be the most relevant thing. I understand, your sentiments about the minister, and the most important thing, have journalists been able to have this free space to ask questions and be able to set the agenda and not just flow with the agenda that has been set by government?
Some are doing that, others are still struggling. You have media outlets who wake up in the morning, are just waiting for either what is circulated on social media or the events of the day, and that's all. They are not what I would call programmatic or thematic in looking at areas. Many of the media institutions lack specialist journalists. That's also a problem, wherein you don't have too many specialists on subject matters. The media is left blind or dumb because you will not be able to ask the right questions. So again, it goes back to what I will always say: the journalist must study and learn. Like you say, where people like you are critique hardcore journalism, say, they make like it's sabi. Also, you make like you know.
Hey, for sabi, follow.
And there is this quote that say, a journalist must know something about everything.
Definitely, you can't sit on top about something.
And I can always say, like that lawyer or that pastor before you go to pulpit for go preach, you for study. That lawyer before you go to court. You, the journalist, for me, it's my principle. I for study 2 or 3 times past that person day. If I'm coming to host a guest, when I host my show, the Brutally Frank show, which I do co-host, I will use like 4 days preparing my research.
Definitely, yeah.
I will read not only things that are relevant to the subject matter, but things that have been referenced under maybe footnotes or references. Because some of these things, they give you context. And today, this is what we encourage. We'll encourage young journalists. There is no secret. There is no silver bullet in becoming a very, strong, reputable journalist. There is no substitution to that. You must study.
There's nothing wrong with asking. And people, I remember before we came on this show, just last night, you and I had a conversation.
Yeah.
And he even suggested a documentary, and I watched it, and it was this is a
Raoul Peck's documentary.
This is a man I've read his book.
And you never,
but when I looked at the documentary, it gave me a whole different perspective on things. So I think this is what we should do. A lot of research
and that's where I think institutions must build and regulators, be this large IMC. I think they've been doing that, but they must be more focused. Specialization focused. For example, we are struggling to have media analysts in Sierra Leone. We don't have too many. Yeah. You can attest to that. We were enthused by then when we came into this aspect of media analysis. We used to go to SLBC. We used to argue with our older folks, our most senior, but it was about the appetite. We found fun in her. We see Alec for say it's an opportunity. All right, it's a platform. Let's make use of it. Yeah. And Tankam, we look at different ways. I say this is not just a platform. This is a place where you can sell ideas that the state's not even want to let you sell. Yeah. So as you grow, and it's about learning. Journalism is not a secret. You have to learn every day.
I will share this personal experience. I remember when I started journalism. I had this guest. I began this program for I guess me guests. I don't call you guests. They're ready for the program, and I knew very little about the topic, and it was a legal matter that day. So I called the guest. I put on a studio, asked her one question, and the guy was talking, and I was there. So like 1 hour, the guy in talk past me get the show and all that because I did not have a lot of depth in the issue, and this is what colleagues need for do. Background talk about something, do background check. That's why you see other people represent program. Talk about the economy, talk about health, talk about this, talk about that, and specialization also in the media is something. Sure. I had a health reporter here.
Yeah, that show was profound.
Kemo Cham was here, and it's about specialization. How it's kind of master in skills and whom. So my question would be, how do we ensure that we balance as journalists? We interests. We all have our interests, either personal, either corporate, either political, either institutional. But how would they ensure so we get that middle line? You balance yourself and amidst them competing interests.
From an institution perspective, I'll begin with an institution. I think it should not be concealed.
Okay, so institution will make it clear. So
we are left wing.
Okay.
They should have editorial positions on issues. For example, in America, media outlets are divided on immigration. So it's clear. Conservative media, they are against immigration. Liberal media, they are for that. So it's high time, one, that is from the institutional perspective. Sure, yeah. They must be honest enough to show who their owners are, who their financiers are, and who their backers are. If you are not honest enough, then that means you are deceiving your audience. They must know that Truth Media is liberal media or centrist media. B Media is left-wing media. That is the honesty as to what spectrum the institution belongs. And now you come to your personal honesty. Again, your personal, I use the word honesty for want of word. Your personal honesty. I never cover story. I don't say they don't pack for me. Find kakama money. The work kind of institution, I'm not talking but they can't fool me institution. Give them an impression like, oh, this is the victim. When in the other hand, is the oppressor. And the essence of the media is to oppress the oppressor and to comfort the victims. Or comfort the oppressed. So if you come and can deceive your institution because of your personal interest, that you still forget that moral uprightness for can say, hey, Christian, I go to cover this news here, but people and say the career will they perform, then go on new party, so then say this is not cool, what's for we. Come and it's called disclosure. And this is a principle also that applies to politicians. The media must always disclose its position. You have some people say, "Oh, media not for take sides." Who that tell you so? That is 1920 journalism.
So
the media not take sides. The media lacks moral consciousness.
Don't you think it's also about the culture? Because depending on the culture and all that, I worked for a short time in the Gambia. Now the side and the way I think say I was editor. We reporter they can't say, "Na me party this." I did at this party. Na me cover this program. I was like shocked. I get reporter always say it stand for member of parliament. They tell we, I would go cover my program or I go for member of parliament. This is a reporter. I'm like, how does this thing happen? Now, my country, you say you are a member of parliament, you can't be an independent journalist anymore.
Yeah, sure.
But the culture, nobody sees anything wrong with it. Journalists take sides at this particular day. It's about cultural research.
It's not a bad thing for journalists to take sides, be it political side, social side, or whatever. The bad thing is when you hide when you are taking a side. When you are doing it in disguise, when you are doing it in deception. Because at the end of the day, you are unfair to the other side without the other side knowing it. And your audience also, who believe that you are giving them an information to make informed judgments, are also deceived. So it's a moral question as to how we keep ourselves balanced. But in reality, there are three sides to this media balance that we talk about. It's either you are on the left or on the right. And for us that are in the middle, you must be ready to be turned.
So why do you say for us that?
It's great for myself.
Man, don't think so. You're on the left or you're on the right.
Well, it's their thinking. I've always challenged them, bring evidence to show me like APC or SLPP. They've never.
Okay, so you are saying left or right media never do APC or SLPP?
In this country, I'm not talking about America. We're not ideological. You know, say APC and SLPP are not ideology.
Yeah.
They don't have political ideology. Ask them what's their position on, for example, FGM or on defense
spending. That doesn't exist. The ideology
is only to win.
Yeah.
That is their only ideology. Using antics, propaganda, and all that. So in real politics, because the media is a reflection of the society, where the society not getting kind of standards, don't expect the media also for go introduce standards we not did. Yeah. So it's a moral duty from the media and society again for keep a fine balance. But for me, again to the point of being a centrist, and this is the reason why I don't vote. Many people don't challenge me. Oh, Melvin, well, you never put too much on politics.
Yeah, that's what you say. You're not being patriotic.
No! Two things we're going to make, maybe I consider for votes again. Mm-hmm. Maybe if I left journalism, I would consider for votes. Why? I'm not going to say another APC, SLPP. I don't criticize them for 5 years. Don't wait one day each. I go to me and say I go cast ballot for them. For me, that
you can vote for individuals.
Well, no. That defeats my own personal standards. My own personal and moral standing at that. I'm not going to criticize APC and SLPP that I go vote for them back.
Like
who does that?
I remember I've had a discussion.
That is just
with
one side.
I don't get discussion with colleagues the way I tell them. So we discuss about voting and all that. I said I go talk to that this person I vote for. That's personal. I said, but I told them I voted for this NP. I said because I be Sabi on that Sunday. And now we have a PR system. I don't know my MP. That's I live at Wilberforce. You should understand what I mean by that.
Yeah.
All man understand. If I say I vote for this MP and I Wilberforce, I be that Sunday. It's just a personal preference. So is there anything wrong with that? You can vote for a person, not necessarily a party.
It's about the person representing a party. And mind you, in an election, one vote counts. What if that journalism vote make that party they win?
So what if that the vote you know votes make we get some level of bad governance?
And that brings me to the second point as to why I don't vote and will not be voting soon. The second point there is, I will vote if governments make provision of social services justiciable. Now, this is my argument, so now the votes, we see a lot of glamour in voting. From where you vote, what has changed?
But you want to not change from where you vote?
What has changed significantly?
Things have changed.
What significantly? Sierra Leone is ranked among the poorest nations. What's the votes has changed?
No, I will refuse to say things have not changed. Because
what significantly has changed with our votes? Underline the word votes.
If, for example, I have this pen and it's here, there's no way this pen is still here. We have made some level of progress. I would say we have not made much progress, or maybe we are going back. but we don't move.
We've not made any progress. So counter your argument. And why I disagree with you that we've not made any progress, we've not been able to make social services justiciable. That's one.
Who will we blame for that? Let's come to the media.
Hold on, let me just land. Okay. We're having a conversation, not a debate.
Yes.
If you want a debate, we can have a debate.
No, let's have a conversation.
So, if you are telling me that, voting is your right and all that, why when political parties and politicians and elected officials don't fulfill their manifesto promises, they are not prosecuted in my own estimation or called to order for that? Now,
anyways,
the time when they make manifesto, say where politicians making manifesto if I do and pauper, that time I will vote.
Okay, well that's your personal preference, and we
can decide to
vote or not vote. But what we will preach is that it's your right to vote, and I think everybody has a responsibility for ensure say you elect your leader. You know, whether good or bad.
That's what.
If you don't vote, you don't put in a leader. You have to be blamed. In my own opinion, a different for waiting Melvin thing.
And if you are voting, mind you are not neutral to the politics and partisan politics.
That's a debate for another day.
It is not. You hear the votes.
It's a debate for another day.
Okay.
So let's come back home. You know, talking about journalists. You know, what do we do as journalists then, as we cover, as we set the agenda for being mouthpieces for maybe political interests or corporate interests. Like I keep saying, you cannot detach both of them, because as there's a corporate institution we will say we are your partners. So you have some partnership with corporate institutions. You could have partnership with political institutions. But what do you do to ensure that even though you get a partnership in the day, you still be a voice for people as media practitioners?
Editorial policy. You must have clear editorial policy on politics, on the economics, on several issues, on the law. You must have an editorial position. And if you have a position, when a corporate interest comes and wants to sway you off, that editorial policy guides you. Yeah. So, this not do, this not don't. So I think editorial policy, but of course, ownership willingness, I'll call it. If you have the best editorial policy and the owner it's not giving you a free hand. It's calling you to tell you that, that story there, I don't want to see her. That story there, that's what I want her. Then you don't have the latitude to safeguard it. So it's a multi-pronged approach from the institution to the individual and to regulators and to the audience also. Yeah. Because if me not say that media, they want me to listen. Now, Adebayo style media, I get a duty not for listener.
Who should Adebayo style media?
Mamikos, deception, propaganda, lie based on fictitious falsehood, which is one of the state's tools for propaganda. It's called illogic. If you watch the full documentary on 2 + 2 = 5, states do use illogic to if it doesn't make sense. Like hiring people, some people like hiring ventriloquists like Adebayo. Some states, rogue states, have rogue actors who use subterranean backdoor channels, which you can consider illogical, not make no sense. But they want to achieve a goal where they call mind policing. Waiting the while you think, waiting and feel safe, waiting the while you feel the truth and all that. So it's a joint effort from you to watch. If me they watch television, especially I do this most times with Western media, first thing I check your editorial balance. If I know you are conservative, I listen that's the thing. Yeah. I know what I'm expecting. Yeah. If this is a liberal media, I know if this is a centrist. So another duty for you, it's called media literacy. I think everybody needs that. Yeah. Be you politician, be you ordinary public officer, you forget elements of media literacy. Mm-hmm. For example, if somebody wants to talk to me, journalist say, I want to talk to you on this issue. The next question you ask, if some journalist say, I want to interview, the next question if I ask, basic media literacy on waiting. Yeah. What you want to do with the interview? Who say you go use the interview? When you go interview, I will get a copy of the interview. These are basic, but again, I do with it money as communication strategists and media analysts. Because at the end of the day, if people and they would do, I also go with it money.
Okay, thank you very much, Mel. You know, as we wrap up, we as media practitioners in this space, we get this issue emerging. We have the new media, you know, all man get access to smartphones now, you know. People that can just put information out there once, and the public is trusting the new media because then they bring the information raw, you're looking for editor. When you if somebody who's got a farm, you call me for cover, I'm like, what's the good one? What's in this day about? What's the agenda and all that? A blogger not going for watch that. You don't go put your camera and show. I said, man, who's got a farm, he gets paid for that and things like that. How do we make ourselves relevant in this domain? So get this seeming competition.
I think the media don't play a bit of catch up, and that's don't make the blogger space don't widen. And I feel if journalism no wake up and live up to the time and the trend, we will be playing catch up. What do I mean? We don't see the proliferation of bloggers. If, for example, every newspaper probably don't get websites. With our websites, they get Facebook, you get Twitter, and other accounts. Where you need to put short videos called reels. Almost newspaper get websites. Almost radio station, they broadcast on, let's say, how is this website called? Radio Garden. So if you don't follow the trend, technology is part of the trend. And the media for consider how we infuse technology. You guys are doing it. We're talking about radio now, but it's on the internet. Yeah. So it's called convergence technology. Again, me I talk no blogger. This is not mouthiness. When it comes to journalistic content, now you get the biggest follower. I believe my 1-2 sentence where I write on any picture or any video or any content makes a lot of sense and difference. That is not to say you don't have professional. Because that's it. I'm not saying bloggers are not professionals. They are called citizen journalists, and it's an emerging trend.
We have very professional bloggers.
Because of traditional journalism, don't make we left behind because of poverty or lack of innovation. People where they know the value of their data, value of their phone, value of sharing, value of community and all this, then it make and you cannot blame them for that. They are called now influencers. It's not a crime.
Definitely.
But for me, what is a crime? Now when you blog, I feel say you're a journalist. And there is a thin line, but there is a difference.
But there are bloggers who are journalists.
There are journalists who are bloggers. Journalists who have blogs. That's the original where it started. Many of those big media companies used to have their blog sphere where they can do short news.
Well, you can still be a professional blogger without being a journalist. Am I right?
For me, that would be a debate. You can be a professional blogger without being a journalist. How?
You get your blog page and it's specific things there. Because mostly what I know about blog, it should be specific. Now bloggers, they do all things. So you have people who have like food blogs, you know, write about food stuff. Some is about culture, some about fashion and things. Well, not so they say journalists there.
Content creation, in my estimation, falls under what is called production in media. If you're a good media producer, content for offline and online should not be a problem.
That makes you a blogger. You can be a blogger then if you're a good content producer, but not necessarily a journalist.
That's the argument you are saying. Bloggers can be journalists, right? Is that what you're saying?
They can. There are some who are bloggers.
But because you are a blogger doesn't mean you're a journalist.
No, of course, yeah, I agree with
And similarly, because you're a journalist doesn't mean you're a blogger. Yeah. Because if you are not au fait or privy to the tools that are being used by bloggers, some bloggers have advanced tools that journalists cannot use. Advanced applications that journalists cannot use. That is a fact. But you have journalists. The difference there is the quality of the content. Where journalists make content, like now it's G-Tide phone. And when non-journalists make content, like now with iPhone, there is a difference.
Anyways, that is very debatable.
I remember the days of Magbana, I used to write me notes per what we call now Mox phone. That's how far back I don't begin use technology. Why? Because I mean, no say day like today, I never use me phone for write me technology get for advanced. So we the journalists back, we only for left, use on journalists not get advanced phone. You will blame blogger for that. Some journalists write up on social media, you ask if na blogger. You will blame the blogger for that. So the difference there is wait till we study, because me believe say
what you practice.
Blogging can be a practice. But journalism is a practice and a profession. Yeah. With all due respect to bloggers, they are doing a very good work. Yeah. But some of them are doing a very good work. Yeah. But I would tell you, wherein somebody with a journalist thick and true, man, where he do content, like that one picture, they write the captioner. Different.
It's more professional.
That's the
Thank
difference.
you very much, Melvin. You know, this is a debate we have always had, and we will always continue to have. You know. But this is all we have time for. It's been an interesting conversation, and today we don't take the spotlight on we self as journalists. There, we don't introspect, look we self and see how we go set agendas positively in the interest of the public. But until the court decides in our public interest, it's a very interesting thing going forward. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to say thank you to technical team, Simon, Ansu, and DJ Muski with the behind the mixer, and all my colleagues at the news team. Thank you so much, and of course I want to say thank you to my MD, for giving us a platform like this where we could just have a discussion, free flow, unhindered, uncensored, me and Melvin and a lot of other people who have come on Stop Press, they do analysis now, various programs, and we know what entails. Of course. We know how they say, okay, we'll not talk this, we'll not talk that. But here on Stop Press, we just discuss the issues as long as it's respectful, it's in line with the law, we know they attack personalities, just the issues, no matter how critical the issues may be, we discuss them here on Stop Press. And this is what we want to do, have a lot of engagement. So sometimes we might even come with citizens and, they can talk, just share their thoughts, their opinions and views about how the media is and how we shape the agenda and how we ensure, say, we all make this country better together. Well, so today, Friday, we Stop Press go meet tonight again. Me and Christian Conte, and no say that it's true the last. This is Stop Press.
I hope that our visitors would listen to this song carefully, because it's true. They're trying their best to stop our progress.